What's up, Precalc students, Unit 5, here we go. Redoing this video because the first time I kind of struggled with it. Unit 5 is all about compositions, putting one function inside of another. Then talking about inverses, how inverses will undo each other, whether it's f of f inverse or probably better to say the opposite, f inverse of f is just x. And then how that relates to understanding if you have, say, something like this, what the 3 and the 2 is going to do to the function in terms of like horizontal changing of the x's. And the key is understanding that if you're inside the function, you got to like undo what's being done. You have to use the inverse to say, figure out like what is the x you need to plug in to get like an x that you're looking for. For example, let's say I wanted to find f of 6. Well, we can like take this inside, set it equal to 6, and then we would solve. And what would we do? We would divide by 3, and then we would subtract 2. So that is showing you that if you have this kind of thing going on inside your function, we are going to have a horizontal dilation where we're going to take our x's and we're going to divide them by 3. We're going to do the opposite as what we kind of see. And then what are we going to do? We're going to subtract 2, which means it's a horizontal translation to the left 2. So it's like I will have to plug in 0 for x to get to an x value of 6. And if it was something like that, and I'm trying to plug in like x equals, well, I want f of 6 again. In this situation, what would I do? Well, I would do things in a different order. I would subtract 2 first, so I'd have a horizontal translation first, and then I'd divide by 3 and I'd have a dilation. Typically, we keep things like this so that you know you would want to dilate first and then translate. But the key is like it's an inverse, it's kind of undoing things. So that's kind of unit 5. So what do we notice is if we have a 3, we're horizontally dilating by a factor of 1/3. If we're going to horizontally dilate by a factor of 3, that means inside a function, I need a 1/3. And that's how I kind of picked this one. Now, if I were to take this and say set it equal to like the number you're looking for, what would you do first? You would translate first, you would add 4 first, and then you would multiply by 3. But it doesn't matter with this question, the order. You got to just see you need the x divided by 3 to do the horizontal dilation of a factor 3. How do we find inverses? This is when we understand the concept of inverses, and there's 2 ways to do this problem. If f's got the point a, b, the inverse has to map that b back to an a. So if you have the point 2, 3, the inverse has to have the point 3, 2. Now, what we end up doing is we're taking an equation and we want to see if we plug in an x, we get a y. We want some equation where we like plug in that y and it gets back to an x. So we need to like solve for x. And the way I did this the first time in the video was a little bit confusing to me. And I was like, do we really have to do that? But I'll show you like a different way compared to the first video. And then I'll show you another way to like check this problem. I'm going to just multiply by x plus 4, giving me xy plus 4y equals 2x minus 3. Now I want to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract the 2x from this side. And when I subtract the 2x, I'll get y times x minus 2x, or negative x. No, I have to write this out. Oh, hey, you want to take your test?
I have practice right now, and I leave in a little bit to go to the second day of district. When would be a good time for me to come in and take my test?
Whenever you can, man.
Okay. I'm here tomorrow, so can I do it like tomorrow before school?
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we got an x isolated here. Now we can kind of move these y's over. I'm going to subtract the 4y, and I get negative 3 minus 4y, and then I'm going to divide by the y minus 2. Negative 3 minus 4y over y minus 2. Negative 3 minus 4y over y minus 2. Again, if we want to make an f inverse of x, we will just change these y's to x's. And we see that's the answer. Now that one's pretty tricky. So let's say we encounter a problem like this and we're like, I don't know what to do. Well, here's your other way to do it. And this might be easier. Pick a number that gets a good output. Here are some examples. 3/2. Why do I pick 3/2? Because if I plugged in 3/2, this should be 3 minus 3, which is 0, over 3/2 plus 4, whatever, it's 0. That means f has the point 3/2, 0. That means f inverse has to have the point 0, 3/2. Only one of these functions has the point 0, 3/2. If I plug in 0 into this one, I get negative 3 over negative 2. There it is. If I plug in 0 here, I get negative 3/4. If I plug in 0, I get negative 4/3. If I plug in 0, I get positive 7/2. That's another way, just to kind of use a point and to kind of guess, check which ones are going to work when we flip-flop points. All right, we got g of f of x. So we want to compose g of f of x. That's g of 9 to the x minus 1. That means wherever I see x, I'm going to replace it with, wherever I see x and g, I'm going to replace it with f of x, 9 to the x minus 1. Cool. We're going to see when is this bigger than 3. Many ways to do this. Whether you simplify, I'm going to use log properties, which we talked about on the last video, to bring that down. And then I know the log base 3 of 9 is 2. So I get x minus 1 times 2 is greater than 3. You could distribute, or you could just divide by 2. 2x is greater than 5. X has to be bigger than 5/2. Okay, this is another situation where we're composing. We have g of f of x. What is f of x? F of x is 2x minus 1. Wherever we see x and g, we will replace it with 2x minus 1. Use parentheses, that way you know you're squaring. Don't square incorrectly. 4x squared minus 4x plus 1, that's 2x minus 1 times 2x minus 1. This is 6x minus 3. This is 4x squared plus 2x minus 2. Okay, same thing, only it's f of g of x, which is f of 3x. Wherever I see x in f, I will replace it with 3x, which turns into 9x squared, 3x times 3x. All right, that's unit 5.